Hey y'all, happy Wellness Wednesday. This is your girl Tasha coming at y'all. Y'all know I am the plant-based chef. I am Chef Mac. I am the juice lady. I am all the things. I am your wellness coach. I am your wellness consultant. And I am here this afternoon. I'm actually making some lunch for my husband and I. We got to eat a good lunch for our High Rocks training this afternoon. And I am making some tofu. Let me show y'all. I get a lot of questions about tofu. People are afraid of tofu. People don't know what to do with tofu. Some people don't eat tofu for one reason or another. I'm not here to debate about whether you should eat tofu or not eat tofu. We love tofu. It is a great protein source for us, and I make it all the time. I actually put it in our bowls. You can do so many things with tofu. Y'all sleeping on tofu. I don't know if it's the name y'all don't like or whatever, but anyway, I didn't plan on doing a video about tofu, but yet here I am. So I am making tofu. You see that I have cut these into squares, and that's normally how I work with tofu. You don't actually have to cut it. You can break it apart. You can just tear it apart, but I like doing things in uniformity, so I just cut them into squares. So the thing about tofu is like a blank canvas, right? Think about tofu the same way you cook your animal protein sources. You have chicken, right? Your chicken is raw. Your steak is raw. Your beef tips, they are raw. And of course, you clean them off or whatever you do with them to prepare them, to season them. That's the same way you have to do with tofu, y'all. Tofu is going to take on whatever taste that you give it. You must give it a taste. So here I got Old Faithful. I start off with garlic powder and onion powder, right? And you just pour as much of it on here as you want. That's where I usually start. And I also have some pink salt. Y'all know we don't use table salt here, but I always use pink salt. And I have some fine ground pepper. I don't like the over pepper thing, so I kind of put it in my hand. And if you want, you can put smoked paprika on here, regular paprika. I put a little cumin in here. You can give tofu whatever flavor you want to give it. So that's where you have to start with tofu. You got to start with cutting it up or breaking it off in chunks, putting it in a bowl, and give it some flavor with your seasonings. And just, so do you see how that looks? I just gave it a flavor with some seasoning. So I'll be back to show y'all some more things later. All right, y'all. So for the next step with tofu, we've cut it up. We've seasoned it well with the flavor that I want to give it. You can flavor your tofu with whatever flavor you want to give it, right? So the seasonings that I use pink salt, fine black pepper. I use a little bit of cumin, always onion powder and garlic powder. Onion powder and garlic powder are a must on everything, okay? So my next step is what I do. I take some avocado oil spray and I just spray the bowl generously, right? You can use the actual oil if you want to, like a couple of tablespoons of it, but I find you get less calories and less oil when you use a cooking spray. So you spray that generously like that. And this is the key to getting this crispy in the oven. So I use some cornstarch. Y'all see this cornstarch I buy from Whole Foods? You don't want to over cornstarch it. So just like you flour your chicken to give it a crispy flavor, you're going to put some cornstarch. And y'all, I don't have exact measurements right now, but I've been doing this so long that I know how to cornstarch it, to not over cornstarch it, because you don't want, if you put too much cornstarch, then it's going to turn white and chalky in the oven, and you don't want that, right? So let me just let y'all see. You can see it's I use maybe about a good 2 tablespoons. I can judge it that way, about a good 2 tablespoons of cornstarch. So now that I've got the cornstarch on here, I'm going to put this in the oven on a baking sheet on some parchment paper, some unbleached parchment paper. Let me show y'all my unbleached parchment paper. So I use unbleached parchment paper that I got from, I think I got that roll from Home Goods. And then there are 2 rolls that I bought from the Fresh Market if anyone is interested in unbleached parchment paper. So I'm going to show y'all this tofu once it cooks in the oven. I'll be back. All right, y'all. So the tofu is now done in the oven. And I want y'all to see, if you can, Let me see if you can. Do y'all, if you can hear and see how crispy they look. So what I want to do now is, y'all know I like to put a teriyaki glaze on my tofu. But you can put whatever sauce or glaze you want on your tofu, or you don't have to put any sauce on them. I just like a sauce on mine because that's what I like to do. But again, and if you want this a little bit more crispier, my recommendation would be is to add some panko breadcrumbs. Yes, panko breadcrumbs are like the plant-based version of traditional breadcrumbs. Add some dairy-free breadcrumbs or whatever breadcrumbs you want. And of course, you can put tofu in your air fryer or you can put them in the oven. I just rather put everything in the oven because I cook most of our food. 90% of our food is in the stove or on the oven. Most of the time it's in the oven. But I just wanted y'all to see how easy this is to make tofu. You don't have to be afraid of it. Just give it a flavor that you want it to have. This is a great meatless option. You can add tofu to salad. You can add it to bowls. You can add tofu as an entree, as a meatless entree to your food. You can do anything with this. Tofu is filling. It has a lot of protein. And then there are different types of tofu as well. If you don't want a soy protein, you can use tofu made out of fava beans. You can use tofu made out of chickpeas. You just have to look for those things, but they do exist. So again, you don't have to fear tofu. I put tofu sometimes in my curry. There are many ways to enjoy tofu and give tofu a flavor that you want it to have. But again, I'm going to add a teriyaki glaze to this, and voila, it's going to be added to our lunch for the day. All right, y'all. So y'all see that I've added the teriyaki sauce to this pan, and then I've added the tofu in here. So I'm just going to let this simmer until it warms up for a few minutes. Y'all see it's already starting to glaze up. You don't need a whole lot of teriyaki sauce. You don't need a whole lot of barbecue sauce or any sauce that you want to add to your tofu. But again, give tofu a flavor. And another thing about tofu, so I buy the tofu that's already pressed. What I mean already pressed is that the water is already pressed out of the tofu, because if you don't buy the tofu already pressed, it's going to take you about 15 minutes to squeeze all of that water out of the tofu. And y'all already talk about you don't have a lot of time and things like that, and then honestly I don't either. And then I am a convenience type of girl, so if there's tofu that's already pressed, that's the one I'm going to get. And tofu doesn't cost a lot. This block of tofu I think costs maybe about $3, a little over $3, and it's a lot. And this is just for me and my husband. So think about in comparison to the meat products that you buy. There's nowhere that you are buying chicken, turkey, fish, steak, or whatever other type of animal products that you all eat. You're not buying that for $3. So I don't want to hear it. But you understand, you get the gist of what I'm saying. So again, I'm glazing this up with a teriyaki sauce, and this is going into our lunch bowl for today. It's going to be awesome.